Women's Day forms part of South Africa's Women's Month, which provides an opportunity to pay tribute to the generation of women whose struggles laid the foundation for the progress made in empowering women and achieving gender equality to date. The aim was to bring women of South Africa together to secure full equality of opportunity for women regardless of race, color, or creed, to remove social, legal, and economic barriers to work for the protection of women and children. National Women's Day is celebrated on the 9th of August in South Africa. To commemorate this day, Medulla Production is hosting a forum to discuss the influence of media.
Hi guys, welcome to today's forum. I'm Ursula Manvatkar, Managing Director of Medulla Productions. And with me here all the way from Kenya is Kiama and Valerie Naidoo from South Africa, Nisha Kalamane from India, and Solange Saqr from Lebanon. So today's topic is in celebration of the Women's Day in South Africa on August 9th. And the entire month of August is going to be celebrated as Women's Month. So we have some very interesting forum topics to be discussed. Our topic, the umbrella topic for today is media impact on women. And I'd like to invite my friend Valerie to take over from here to lead the forum discussion.
Thanks, Ursula. Thank you so much for that very warm welcome, and really excited to be, commemorating Women's Month in South Africa, and so good to have this forum and be here and, to share our views. The topic media's influence and the impact on women is most relevant, as it really does affect women on so many different levels. So, for example, right now, if you look at it in the mass media, the way society lives up to the ideals of beauty, weight, and appearance is really overworked. It is so often that you will get on a billboard or an advertisement or draping the covers of a magazine, you will get a very slim, sexy woman, or maybe you will get a male with well-defined abs. But these are the ideals that society is actually living up to. The pressure is on, right, for both men and women. Okay, but I feel that there's more pressure for women to give in to these beauty ideals. Solange, what is your take on this? How do you think this sort of pressure actually affects a woman internally?
Exactly. As you said, Valerie, already, both men and women are faced with the demands that society places on them to conform to these ideals of attractiveness. Low self-esteem, on the other hand, can cause one to be susceptible to media images. Research has shown that low levels of self-esteem in both men and women are predictive of more weight concern compared to those who have high level of self-esteem.
Yeah, okay. No, I agree with you. Totally.
Yeah. So not only does self-esteem affect weight concern and the media's level of influence, but self-esteem itself can be affected by the media. Research indicates that being exposed to like thin ideal images lowers self-esteem and increases the drive for thinness in women. And the
Absolutely.
drive and the drive
Absolutely.
of muscularity in men.
Absolutely. Okay, so Kate, what are your views on this? How do you think this would also impact a woman's self-esteem and the way she relates to herself and to the other women around her?
Thank you so much, Valerie. I think it's really important for us to recognize that, especially with the digital world that we're all experiencing life, especially due to COVID, a lot of us are getting a lot of imagery or a lot of contentment from what we're watching or what we're viewing. Media and the portrayal of what ideal standards of beauty is definitely affects how women show up, not only in the home, but also in the workspace. Speaking especially for adolescent girls who are very impressionable, if we show them a certain ideal standard from the newspaper, from TV shows that this is what beauty standards conform, and you look different. You feel that you don't belong to, you don't feel like you fit in, which causes a lot of harm, because then you have a lot of self-esteem issues, which not only affect teenagers, but continuously affect women, even in different spaces. I think it's really important for us to push back on those ideal standards, because all of us are different. Our body structure, our shapes, our skin texture, things like colorism. It's really important for us to really push back and make sure that the media is representing women in all the beauty and the glory that we come in, and not just say that, you know, having a size 6, having fair skin without pimples or blemishes, what the ideal is. And I think Instagram especially has, which is what a lot of women and girls are consuming, doesn't show what normal women in their day-to-day look like. And I think it's really important for us to remember that these platforms are usually for marketing, you know, products, but we have to remember that we don't all look this way. We have different standards, and it's important for us to accept and not to body shame when people look different from us.
Yeah, absolutely, Kate. You know, what I realize is that all forms of media, whether you're looking at social media, whether you're looking at magazines, the newspaper, or television, it's as if they are normalizing being underweight or anorexic. And I feel that's constructing identities, and it does negatively impact a woman as well as her self-esteem. Like you say, everyone is different, and we need to learn to embrace that. Yeah. So
Yes.
Nisha, remember, self-esteem is how you feel about yourself, and it is different to confidence levels. Nisha, can you give us a little bit of insight into this? Because both are different aspects, but often enough, think that it's one and the same.
See, before that, I would like to touch upon one important point. Like while they were sharing about the body image, I receive a lot of call from, people, kids who reach their puberty, like around 12, 13 and 14, call out to me saying they are being bullied for the size that they are in or for the color that they have. They're not able to talk and make friends. So this does not happen, it's not just limited to adults alone. It is starting at a very young age. And like how you said, it is affecting the self-worth of these kids as well as they're growing. And unfortunately, sometimes it is continued at home as well, because we have nicknames and pet names, especially in this part of the world where we would call them Golu, Molu and all that, So they also normalize it at home, telling that, you really need to be thin. And coming to social media, a bit of it, I should talk about the kind of videos that we have on YouTube that has highest number of clicks, generally have 10 days to lose 10 kgs. And these kids end up following all that, it's so unhealthy and it is so wrong to do it. And that they end up having eating disorders and a lot of other issues related to it. Now, coming back to your question, what you think about yourself and how confident you are in presenting what you want to present is most important. And that is what is missing end of the day. So when you talk about the confidence, it is about how you are going to present yourself the best way possible with whatever you have in you and appreciating yourself. So that is what is missing, is what I felt. I think you were referring to that itself, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Okay, so Ursula, because you are directly involved with the media and sometimes with advertising, filmmaking. Okay, so this question is for you. When it comes to advertising, I feel that they use certain products, right, to draw on people's insecurities. And sometimes some products are aimed at certain populations only. Can you give us a little bit of insight into this, Ursula?
Yes, I'm a casting director and a producer, and what normally my work entails is to screen out the right candidates to present to my clients, who are brands and different companies who want to have a certain image in the market. And most of the time, the demand is for skinny women, demand is for women who got perfect symmetrical features, and certain skin texture, certain races. Even the money remuneration differs for different. So it's quite sad And most of the time, what happens is just to get into, I'm talking about the media market, like the models and actors and people in this industry. They resort to certain products. I mean, Solange would be more familiar. Like when you talk about cosmetics, we are looking at fillers, botoxes, lasers, skin lightening creams. We are looking at, so they get into this, they really get addicted to this because they need to be perfect. At the same time, they need to look perfect to present certain products that are targeted to the mass media. So it's quite ironic. Like you want a normal, let's say a housewife who's a skin lightening cream, but you're using a model who's basically done up several more things. So at the end of it, the product is lying. They're not telling the truth. It's just not possible to use a skin lightening cream and get lighter skin. You need to do a lot more to do that. But the sad thing is that you actually are having kind of products in the market. Why can't people just talk about looking your best and trying to enhance your own natural beauty instead of trying to be somebody else? Even like I personally do not like to wear makeup, but I have to sometimes because I'm in the media and I need to look a certain way. Otherwise, it's all perception. I also do not like people wearing different color lenses. I mean, it's like you're not happy with who you are. But it's so much is fed to the people constantly through, I mean, cinema, through magazines, social media, even the nowadays you have this TikTok, and like people are going crazy. Like it kind of inculcates this narcissist tendencies, like voyeurism. Like people really like, they want to, they also want to be in the center of attention, and they want to. It's just a disaster. Personally, I feel like people are no longer in touch with who they are. And it's all because of these products, these expectations, these standards that are being set. And unfortunately, but I'm a creative person, but unfortunately somewhere, to have my business running, I need to also conform to this, even if I agree to it or not. You guys were talking about fat shaming, like or people having pressure to lose weight. Like I've always been a curvy girl, and I remember ever since I was little, even as little as 4, like people used to tease me for having a big butt or big thighs, and wouldn't be like, what I mean. Like I couldn't even wear certain clothes because they're not available in my size. Or even if you go, even if, like I am a model, but when I go for casting and everything, like the weight criteria is looked into. They'll say, okay, you know what, you need to lose X amount of weight. Or so it's and the sad thing is there are people like me in the market. Of course, like the average women, like the average amount of women are like between the sizes of 10 to 14. Like that's pretty average, size UK, dress size UK. But then they are considered to be plus size. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then the media pushes on this whole size 0 and getting skinny, and get a bikini body. Like what the hell is a bikini body? Like everybody is a bikini body, I feel like. Bikinis want to feel comfortable when you're swimming, but not as a standard of beauty. This is what I personally feel. So yeah, this is my take on these this whole products and everything. I think it's just wasting people's money, time, resources, and just killing their self-esteem in the process.
Mm. Okay, so I believe that media literacy programs are very important. And I believe that to combat this, little girls need to be introduced to this from a very young age to be able to see behind the motivation of an ad or whatever the product it is that's been advertised. And I feel that this is what we need to start inculcating in our cultures, in our societies as well. Don't believe everything that you see, like the way you mentioned. On social media, someone can have green eyes, and then when you meet them, you're like, whoa, this person looks totally different, and you are totally shocked. I know it's happened to me many times, when I meet someone. Of course, I'm not rude to say it, but I'm like, where is that person that I met on social media? So yeah, these are the things that we need to be wary of as well. And of course, the media does have a massive hand, to play in that.
Absolutely.
Kate, what is your take on this, especially in terms of how women are misled by what they see in terms of advertisements on television, on social media, in newspapers?
You bring a good point that we shouldn't be striving for perfection. I think the narrative that we are constantly being bombarded, whether it's online or in print media, is you have to be perfect. You have to weigh what is considered the perfect or ideal weight. You have to look a certain way. You have to be using these products, or you have to have this, juicing regime or makeup regime. So I think it's that chase for perfection that is a narrative that we definitely need to change. Ursula definitely mentioned something around her not wanting to wear makeup. I think this narrative has been buttressed in so many places. I do think we have to also really interrogate some of the practices we have in office spaces and in corporates especially, where there's some jobs or some spaces that will almost force you whether or not you want to put on makeup, because there's crazy statistic out there that women who wear makeup, especially in the workplace, are more believable, are more trusted, etc. So when Ursula shares that she doesn't like wearing makeup, that you're almost forced by society because of certain expectations that maybe your employer has, again, that's taking away your own personal identity, your own freedoms or belief processes, because you're trying to fit in, but you're also trying to make sure that you're also staying within the status quo. I think one of the things, as you correctly said, Valerie, I do think it's important for us to be able to read behind the facades. But I do think, especially for younger, impressionable teenagers and women, I do think the onus should be more on us to ensure that this kind of imagery or this kind of narrative is not being put out in the first place. There are products that you'll see being aired on TV just when teenagers are probably watching about skin lightening regimes. I do think it's really important for us to hold our fourth estate accountable to make sure that they're not putting those ideas at that young age for a girl. I do think we as a society really need to push back, as much as we are trying to make sure at your own household or within your own parameters, you are trying to instill values of identity, values of acceptance. I do think it's also important that the society is not sharing a contrary opinion to girls and women. So I do think for us, it's recognizing that, yes, not everything we see on social media is how life is, but especially because we know there are younger people who are watching this, I do think it's really important for us to make sure that we hold these decision makers or people who have those platforms to account, to not push this narrative, because there are some people who perhaps don't have they don't have guidance. So you might be in a household where you're a teenager, perhaps your parents are busy, so there's no one who's necessarily controlling what you're watching and what you're consuming. And so I think it's for us to be able to change how we're socializing at the onset and recognizing that beauty and perfection is an ideal. We definitely should take care of ourselves. You should look your best, do what feels good to you, but not because society is forcing you to conform to these little boxes of normal.
Very well said, Kate. Absolutely well said. So I want to try a little exercise. I need a volunteer. Okay. Who wants to try?
What is this exercise about?
Ursula, did I hear you say me, Ursula?
No, I didn't. I was just smiling like everybody's waiting like.
Okay,
what
Ursula.
Is it all about?
No, it's just a little surprise. So we'll use Ursula for this, right? So
no.
Ursula,
No,
do it. I can do it.
Okay, you can do, yeah, Solange, please. Solange.
Okay, all right, Solange. Solange, I would like for you to close your eyes. And firstly, I don't want you to give me the answers immediately, right? Firstly, I would like for you to picture a neurosurgeon. Okay. Next, I would like for you to picture a civil engineer. And finally, I would like for you to picture a football coach. Okay, so now you can open your eyes and share with us the image of the neurosurgeon. What person did you see standing in front of you?
Just a person with a thick glasses and the uniform of a doctor.
Was it a man or a woman?
A man.
Okay, great. And the civil engineer, Solange?
The civil engineer, I saw a lady with the cask. I don't know what we call it in English. Is it the cask?
Okay.
And with a board with a pen on the side.
Okay, all right. And the football coach?
A very fit guy exercising.
Okay, no, great. Thank you for that. Right. So, Solange, you saw 2 males out of 3, and it does not surprise me because this is exactly what the media portrays when it comes to careers, right? A neurosurgeon is portrayed as a male. 7 out of 10 times, an engineer, a civil engineer, is portrayed as a male as well, and a football coach is also portrayed as a male. These are the messages that the media sends out, that this is a very masculine career. It's a very masculine field. Okay, so Nisha, share with us, especially in India, if a woman has to, for example, take up a role as a football coach, what do you think this woman will have to prepare herself for, very briefly, in a nutshell?
She would be hearing a lot of rejection at first. It is something that is not at all achievable. So she would receive very, very less support from home, starting from home. And then again, in school, again, she's going to face the same thing, saying it's not something that's possible for a girl. It's going to be the same all throughout. But she has to put in a lot of effort to prove that she's more like a man, as in show a lot of physical power, and like she's able to do all the things that the man is able to do, try to be visible in a more masculine way. So she wouldn't be dressing up in a very feminine way. She would dress up more like a man and try to prove, like, I am capable of it. Please do understand and believe in me. So it's literally a cry through her costume and her outlook. And she would also look more masculine than most of them who are around. So this would be something that she would try to do to impress people for acceptance. But there are people in India who are doing it. They have achieved it through this journey. It's like a little more tough for women to go and become a coach, especially a football coach, which is not actually a great celebrated sport as well here. So, it is going to be an extremely difficult thing. She has to build on her confidence to go through the entire journey. And she's not going to receive any kind of support until a certain age, unless she's able to bring in maybe some handsome money or a trophy or some picture on the newspaper. She's not going to get any kind of support for sure.
For sure. Okay, so Ursula, what are the perceptions of a female football coach?
I would say this sport demands a certain level of aggression, which naturally is found in men. Okay, but for women to take it up, they can do it for sure. I'm sure there are a lot of talented women who can, but they'll have to face a lot of pressure, hindrances, and even when, let's say, they cross that as well. Let's say that they have a lovely family who's supportive. What next? Like, do they have enough career opportunities to make it big, or they will just be like a newspaper headline, oh, there's a female coach out there and blah, blah, that's it. Will they be able to get a platform in, let's say, at the World Cup or something? It's a lot to think about, because I can be a football coach, but where is my audience? Like, let's say, where are the students? Where are the other women who are willing to take it up? So there has to be enough of demand for that sport in women for a coach to exist.
For sure. I've seen that, like even within the corporate environment as well, Ursula. I've seen it, women who do rise to the top. I feel that in order for them to fit in, they have to become very masculine. And I have often heard them, being put down and being told, you are just meant to follow and look pretty because that's what you do best. But yeah, the media has a lot, to do with this as well. Kate, so is it a big percentage of women in Kenya who aspire to become neurosurgeons?
I wouldn't speak with clarity, especially around the statistics, but I definitely echo the sentiments that the other panelists have shared, that they are it's very clear here that there are some roles or professions that have been gendered to be masculine and others to be feminine. So anything science related, being an astrophysicist, mechanical engineer, geologist, for example, would be considered a male choice. And things around the humanities, things around maybe doing something in literature or doing something in law or being a teacher are preferred strongly by girls or women. And this again is not because of competencies, it's because we are just gendering these professions, which means it's a social construct that people, again, the narrative that you're constantly seeing when you think about our telecommunication service and advert on TV, you're probably seeing an engineer who's a man. So even as a girl, if you're really, really good at, quantum physics and hydraulics, you almost are having an existential crisis because you know you're capable, but because you're not seeing people who look like you fitting in that field. I do think it's really, really important, especially for professions, for girls to see people in different sectors who look like them, because I know there's absolute power when you see someone in a field, then you can be able to aspire to that faster. But because we don't see a lot of that, then you'll notice that it's just a normal, as one of the panelists says, because you don't want to go against the grain. It's almost natural for you to just do what society expects of you. I do think it's really important for us to really change that narrative because it's very, very harmful. Even when we think about the previous conversation having about sports, there are quite a number of sports scholarships out there, but around the world, the ratio of women who actually pursue sports scholarships vis-a-vis men is very low because, again, being very athletic is not something that many societies, especially in the global south, would be excited for girls to explore. So again, it could be limiting your own potential and your own desires and passions, which you're good at, but because society doesn't accept that to be what is considered being a girl or being a woman, then we really limit our potential. So I would say yes. There are instances, I think maybe in the cities we're seeing more nuanced data of women actually going into professions where they were considered male-dominated fields. But I think the narrative still stays true. Even if you're a leader, say for example, in a corporate, I think if you're too strong, if you're too assertive, people will say you're not being, and as you say, you're not being a feminine leader. And I think it's really important for us to really clearly say leadership, even if you're a woman in a leadership position, you should lead the way you think is natural to you. And even if people consider you to being assertive or being bossy, I think it's important not to change, because then again, we need to change the narrative of what leadership looks like. And I think one of the biggest injustices we do, even women at boards, there are conversations where women have shared that even as a board member, they are required to pour tea for the men in the room. I think it's really important to stand your ground and say, I have a seat at the table, you can pour your own tea, and not feel that your social construct or the social gendered roles dictate for you, even if you're in a boardroom, to do roles that are considered more feminine or what a woman would do. I think it's really important to change, especially in the professional setting, to change that kind of narrative, because it's definitely detrimental to girls and women's development.
Absolutely. I feel it is really important. I echo what you're saying. It's really important for women to remain authentic to who they are while amplifying their voice, regardless of whether it's the corporate world or whether you're a civil engineer or whether you're a neurosurgeon. That's really essential.